man, this is really going to be a strong class, you know? My goodness, people are going to do so much with it. Oh my god. There's even a lot of skills for that other class. And the Monk class, which is a very good class in Final Fantasy Tactics, in my opinion, I think it's the strongest class in Final Fantasy Tactics. It's a very strong class in most games. Yeah, I even remember that in Final Fantasy Tactics, I would put the ability to equip armor for her, which is essentially her weakness, is that she couldn't equip equipment. Right? She was there just with, I think that only with a shirt, a weaker shirt, without a hat. And to balance this, she naturally had very high HP. You'd put armor on her and she would have gigantic HP, in addition to having very strong damage, becoming the most powerful class of all. Here I still haven't, since I haven't put words because things haven't balanced this part, but I made her abilities here. Her appearance is, I think so far it's the simplest appearance of all, which is at least for the man, right? It will be a character without a shirt. He finishes up with some bandages on his hand, right? It's to show that he is a fighter. It's the monk is usually like this, right? So we have this idea of a monk because they generally have some support skills and some skills aimed at that, but essentially it's a fighter who will punch. And showing here is some of his abilities, okay? First here, look, some of his support abilities, I made 2 abilities for now, which are the Purification ability, which is essentially the ability that will remove all negative effects from the target, okay? So it's kind of a complete healing. There will be items that do that, some abilities that do that partially, but this is kind of the perfect ability for that. It will heal everything. However, there's also the power that it needs to be done linearly from one color to another, and it can only be used on one character, so you will get close to the character to remove their negative effects. But still, it is a really good skill that removes everything at once, so if your character gets there with several negative effects, they can just get there and remove them all. And yeah, since I added there the regen skill, right, I also made this class Pose Regen, which I hadn't included there in the class of Priest, you know, which is the class of the Priest. Essentially will have regeneration, but it will be in traits, you know, it will be something you can add to abilities, and not an ability in itself, but the monk will have it as an actual ability. However, like Purification, it is an ability that can be used on a single target and will be a melee ability. But the chance is quite high. You can simply arrive and pose regen for both your allies and yourself. These are the abilities that I essentially assigned to the character, so they can have a little support, right? Being a monk, not only but the skills I like the most are, yes, the fighting skills, right? Well, first I created the skill that's a bit inspired by Final Fantasy Tactics, where there's a skill called Aura Blast or Wave Punch, depending on the version. Here it's the Ether Blast, right? It's simply a ranged punch, right? You punch and it hits at a distance, right? Which is basically an attack where you can use skill range instead of normal attack range. It even deals a little more damage than your normal attack, but because it is a skill that essentially uses ether, right? It consumes a bit of mana, okay? So you can't just keep spamming this skill here. You can, if you have a lot of mana, okay? Or if you have something that restores mana, and the other abilities are essentially physical abilities, right? So they won't consume mana, and one of them is Cyclone, which is an ability where the character spins, dealing punch damage to everyone around them, an ability that works very well in this type of game, a very tactical ability, which is if many opportunities arise when enemies surround you, and you can use it to hit multiple enemies at the same time. It's always very good to have this kind of skill. It will also have good slots for you to improve. And it also deals pretty good damage, though it is less than the base attack damage, right? Mainly because it's a skill that hits an area, striking everyone around. So you will be able to choose whether you want to create chaos on a larger scale, build up here, or hit everyone around with the Cyclone. And I like this type of mechanic where it hits around your own character, especially because enemies usually tend to surround you. So they kind of end up positioning themselves to take this type of ability. And finally I have the combo ability, which is the triple combo. I also just called the ability combo, but it is a skill that will essentially strike only with fists, right? So even if you have some weapon, all 3 of these skills, okay? Even if you have some weapon equipped, it will use only fists, so it will not use the weapon's effects, right? It will not gain the weapon's attack. So these are skills that essentially, they are stronger, but it has this balance, right? It is designed to be used without weapons. So even if you use it with a weapon equipped, it kind of ignores this weapon effect to have this little balance. right, which are essentially very powerful abilities, but it ends up that if you have it equipped, you end up just using it. So you have this little balance of what you use, and the combo should work by delivering a triple strike, okay? So it will make 3 attacks, but it's not just that. These are 3 attacks weaker than a basic attack, right? So essentially it will cause 120% of your damage, so they are 3 attacks of 40%. In the end you will deal more damage than the base attack, and there is no additional cost for that. But the big play of this unit is the fact that you deliver 3 attacks. Everything is counted 3 times, right? So you have 3 chances to miss the enemy as well as 3 chances to hit. So if you have a difficult enemy to hit, you will have 3 chances to hit them. Or the enemy there, you can miss 1 attack, hit the next. But it's not just that, right? There's also the chance to cause a critical hit, which comes from each attack. And finally, the slots will also be very effective in this ability. So I'll give an example here. If you simply have a slot that and it has a chance to cause stun on the enemy. It is, for example, a 20% chance to cause stun on the enemy. So you will set it on a standard skill. You will make an attack with a 20% chance to stun. But if you put it on this skill, you will make 3 attacks. You will have 20% chance 3 times. So shot stun, your chance to stun will be much greater. Just like any other status, any other effect you apply will count 3 times. So if you have a skill that essentially increases damage in a fixed way, you'll increase that damage 3 times, not just once. So that's the big play with this ability. So I found an ability that will be very good, especially when they add these effects to the traits. So I'm already planning for that. In fact, this ability, if I'm not mistaken, I'll put 2 slots in it. So you'll be able to modify this ability a lot. In the end, yeah, the class and such, I really like the animations it had. In the beginning, I had some ideas, but I wasn't sure if it would turn out great, so I even reduced the speed of the combos a bit to see if it would be good. But I liked it being quick there, even though the numbers come afterwards, right? Like, you land the attacks, then the numbers continue rising, which is kind of what happened with the Molotov, right? Taking many hits at once. So we stand there waiting for the numbers to go up, but the damage effect was already cost, right? You can see the character is a spreader. And in the end, it became a very complete, very cool class. A class that can deal damage. We gain a Tello as a report, right? It's worth remembering that all classes, okay? Just like accuracy was added last time, the ability to cause confusion was added to our rogue class, right? And they also added now the HIA, the healing skills 2 and 3, between the Mega Heal and the Giga Heal for... So now I'm always adding new things even to the existing classes, right? So I'm not necessarily creating new classes and focusing only on them. Now I'm adding new things or giving a polish in everything, okay? So the very issue of cumulative buffs now has a slightly different mechanic from before, which works better. The idea in the end is the same, okay? But this way I'm already thinking about the traits, right? Of being able to add new things, being able to incorporate this very mechanic of causing the cumulative buff into other abilities, right? So that's why I changed the mechanic. And you can also see that things are kind of interacting with the environment itself, right? So you can see there that the water scene, it wasn't entirely in vain. You can't, for example, create regions in the water scene, and there will be other things too, okay? The whole scene will interact in the battles. They won't be just visual, right? So everything I'm putting in now, the obstacles themselves are places you cannot walk, which was added now, with stones and plants, besides the trees that were modified. And it looks really nice, it looks good, but it will get much better. I'll still add some lighting effects, some new things, and also the unique effects of this world, okay? Because for now it's more of a, even though it's getting a better look each time, but still they are very common things, right? They are forests, they are water, stone, plant, tree, and since it is a different world, okay, a world governed by Ether, it will have some different elements that I will still add to create a more striking visual, a more unique visual. And man, that was the monk. Okay folks, essentially a class, a fighter, a class that will become really strong once it has the equipment, once it has all the traits, the things you can add. I already designed it with this in mind. It will be a very strong class, depending on the player's creativity. And that's it, I hope everyone liked it. Comment there what you thought of each of this class. What did you think of the last class too, which I had posted? And leave a like, comment, share it with someone you think will enjoy this type of game. For those who haven't added the game to their wishlist yet, I will leave the link in the description, okay? That helps a lot. And tell people you think will like it, if you have a friend or someone you think will enjoy this type of game, because that helps a lot. Subscribe if you haven't. And soon I will bring more news, okay? So keep following along. And really soon I'll bring more stuff for those who like to follow, right? So that's it, goodbye.